What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 7.5 of C&D Sports. Daniel Singh here, no Caleb. He'll be back next week. Let's start off with some basketball. So we have the Phoenix Suns, who took out the LA Clippers in 6 games. No Kawhi, no problem, but Paul George was a problem, along with the Clippers' depth. It wasn't enough to stop Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. This should be no surprise, as again, the Clippers aren't scary when Kawhi's not in the lineup, and for them to get 2 games and to go as far as they did without Kawhi, even getting the Utah series, goes to show how deep and how good this team could have been. But injuries have been the stories for a lot of teams these playoffs, and the Phoenix Suns, who deserve to be where they are, have capitalized. And they will wait on the Atlanta Hawks or the Milwaukee Bucks, who are both missing their stars in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Trae Young. We'll see when these guys come back, as their injuries seem to be day-to-day. Thankfully, as when Giannis fell, it looked very scary and it could have been much worse of an injury. So thankfully he can come back soon and be a force in these playoffs if Milwaukee can go deep enough for him to come back. And they're up 3-2, so it's likely they can catch this series, as although Clint Capella and John Collins can dominate the paint for the Atlanta Hawks, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are just too much for them to stop in Milwaukee. So we'll look forward to Game 6, which airs tonight, and we'll see what happens. Now we can move on to the NHL, where Nashville, who nobody has been talking about, they have sent Victor Arvidsson, who again, not a lot of people were talking about. They've sent him to LA for a 2nd round and a 3rd round pick in this year's draft. I think that's a good haul. A little bit of an underpayment when you consider this guy's value, his potential, and what he's done in the past. So it's a bargain for LA if they can rejuvenate his game and keep him as a solid top 6 forward in their system. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the expansion draft, who they send off to Seattle. And as for Nashville, they've cleared a spot so they can protect somebody else, and they've also cleared $5 million about. So it's a good move for both teams, as LA looks to beef up and rank higher among their peers. And more trade talks. Chicago's looking to move Duncan Keith, as Duncan Keith wants to be closer to home, and it looks like it's going to be the Pacific Northwest, so Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, with Edmonton being the front runner. I think if Chicago can retain some cap and give Edmonton that flexibility, it would be a great move to have that veteran experience, and he's still a solid defenseman. Obviously a little overpaid at his age. I believe he's 36, but you can't replace what he knows, what he's been through, and how he can help lead this team to where they need to go with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Darnell Nurse, and now Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who signed a very team-friendly deal, just a little over $5 million for 8 years. That takes him until he's 36, which is a little on the older side, but at $5 million, that's a fantastic contract, and that really sets them up for future success. Then you have Cale Makar, who's looking to get a contract this year, and it's a little tough to decide what he's going to get. If it's a long-term deal, he could be over $10 million a year. If it's short-term, he can be around 8. And teams are looking to offer sheet him like Montreal did Sebastian Aho. It'll be interesting what teams think this guy's worth. Again, the sky's the limit in terms of his potential and what he's going to do. He's looking like the face of defensemen for the NHL. And teams are going to want that. Teams are going to pay big money for that. And it does bring some nerves to Colorado, so they should look to extend him as soon as possible. And lastly, in contract talks, we have Joel Eriksson Ek, who signed a $42 million deal over 8 years, which is $5.25 million annually. And it's an interesting contract, as it may look like an overpayment, but what this guy is that Jean-Gabriel Pageau, that Philippe Danault, that Patrice Bergeron kind of two-way forward that helps you get to the cup and that allows you to make deep playoff runs. So right now it may look steep, but it'll definitely be a bargain in the future, and when Minnesota Wild's young guns can step up and be a perennial playoff team. And good for them. Now, Who this isn't good for is Montreal, who is down 3-0 to the Tampa Bay Lightning after a 6-3 loss in Montreal. And the story's been Vasilevsky's better than Carey Price, and that was Montreal's only hope to winning this series, was having Carey Price outplay Vasilevsky, because Tampa Bay's the better team. There's no way around it. And Montreal has played better hockey at points, which shouldn't be a surprise considering they were a team going in with a good structure. But Tampa Bay's outskilled them, and Vasilevsky stood on his head. He's been unstoppable, whereas Carey Price is not. The question becomes, can Montreal come back? They did against Toronto, but Tampa Bay is not Toronto. They are much better. What would it take? It would take outstanding play from Montreal, top to bottom. They can't make any more mistakes because Tampa Bay will capitalize as they have. Carey Price has to be the better goalie, which is a tough order because Andrei Vasilevsky is right there with him. But for Tampa Bay to win this series, they just need one more, and they have 4 chances to do so. We'll see how it plays out. It's not over till it's over, although it looks very much over. That's all we got for you today. Stay tuned. We have uploads every day for you. Subscribe, like, check out our link tree. You'll see all our socials, although we're not much on Twitter. Instagram and Facebook are pretty active if you're looking for daily updates, posts, polls, whatever it may be. We try to cover it all. Take care.